So the 2025 format, it's going to stay right there at a dozen teams. There could be some minor changes. New contract begins in 2026. There was a memorandum agreed to last spring, which basically gives the SEC and Big Ten sole discretion on the future of the college football format. That starts in 2026. So if you thought the SEC and Big Ten already had big muscles, guess what? They are banging away at the gym and they are ready to flex those muscles in the college football playoffs. One of the proposals going forward that the Big Ten and the SEC are said to be pushing is a 14-team playoff. I think we're all in favor of some form of expansion, whether it's 14 or 16. So conversation out there, the Big Ten, the SEC would like a 14-team playoff. The format would be, and remember these numbers, 4-4, 2-2, 1-1. There'll be a quiz on it. 44, 22, 11. Sounds like a great play. The fours, 4 automatic bids to the Big Ten and the SEC, 2 automatic bids to the Big 12 and the ACC, 1 to the highest ranking, group of 6 program, and then 1 out there if Notre Dame should finish high enough in the rankings, meaning Notre Dame is somewhere inside that top 14, or maybe the numbers get pushed around a little bit as well. So that is our fresh moves of the week, brought to you by Wendy's. Go to Wendy's and taste the difference in a hamburger. So the agreement grants the league's decision-making powers over the format, but directs them to have, quote, meaningful consultation and to collect, quote, input from the other conferences before making their decision. So you look, let's just talk 4-4, 2-2, 1-1. Does that make sense to you, Mark Ingram, right now, looking at it from the eyes of the Big Ten and the SEC, and then maybe through the eyes of everybody else?
It makes a lot of sense to me, especially with the expansion of the Big Ten and the expansion of the SEC. I think that is very justifiable. And you talk about the 4, you had 4 from the Big Ten already this year. You talk about 3, you had 3 from the SEC. And people were advocating for 4 or 5, maybe even 6 teams from the SEC that could have possibly been in it between Alabama, Ole Miss, and South Carolina. So the 4 and 4 is justifiable. You get 2 from the ACC, which you got this year. I didn't think they were supposed to get 2 in, but they did. They got 2 in. Then you had 1 from the Big 12, and I think they deserve 2 if you talk about a 14-team expansion. And then you get 1 from the highest ranked group of 6, and then you got 1 at-large bid, which is designed to go to Notre Dame, but it could be a 5th SEC, it could be a 5th Big 10, it could be a 3rd ACC or a 3rd Big 12. So that last at-large bid, which is designed for Notre Dame if they handle their business. But I like the format. There's a 14-team playoff in the NFL. Why not go to the 14-team playoff for the college? I think you have a 28-team playoff in the Division II, which is an exciting playoff too. So I'm all for the expansion. I think the 4-4-2-2-1-1 is a great kind of method, a great kind of outlook on this playoff, and we'll see how it goes. But I think that's fair, and I think, especially with the expansion of the Big Ten and the SEC, when you add in Oregon, you're adding Washington, you're adding Texas, you're adding Oklahoma, I think those expansions justify 4 teams for the SEC and the Big Ten.
I agree, Mark, and I made a phone call when I saw this, and it is going to happen. This is not maybe. Remember in the fall that you had the commissioner of the SEC and the commissioner of the Big Ten get together. Yep. Those are the big dogs, and it's really unchallengeable. So, and what drives the big dogs? Remember, college football now is synonymous with money. It is money, and when you just start throwing, you get $4 million to qualify for the semifinal and a quarter. I'm sorry, $6 million for the semi. First of all, the seeding, I would not be surprised somehow if they adjust it this year, but for sure, I can imagine the commissioner Sankey and Petiti at the Big Ten just said, you know what, we're going to make some decisions here, and I know this is pretty bold, but it's not really conversation. We're going to demand this. Yeah. We are going to do this.
Yes.
We take the ball and go play. Remember
Yes.
Now, SEC is ESPN. I know the relationship's there, and they basically own the playoffs. So I can promise you that there will be 4 FCC teams in the playoff.
Yeah, Coach.
I can promise you there's going to be some pushback too, and deservedly so from those in the ACC, those in the Big 12, those in the Mountain West. I mean, we're talking two conferences that are holding all the power, and I think that's too much power in too small.
You're
place.
lucky we're giving you two bids.
Whoa! All right, we're talking. Okay, that's all right. This is good because I want to hear you, Mark. Because I'm ready to come back at you. I'm ready. I'm for the little guy right here, and I want to see all of college football be welcome, not just the SEC Big Ten Invitational, and
they are welcome.
We decide to bring them in.
We're
but
giving
not
you
to the
6
same
bids.
extent. Not to the same extent. We're talking. There are numbers to back this
up. Are
the
conferences of equal value though? The ACC was a trash conference this year.
Right now, they might not be of equal value, but who's to say that's not going to change in a year? Listen, you go down to the Big 12, Mark Ingram. I'm going to tell you right now, there is a lot of oil and gas money out there, and there are some big-time head honchos. You can go down to Lubbock. You can go down to Fort Worth. You can go to SMU, right?
Talk to me, Stone.
I'm talking right now. And you get a couple of those billionaire alums for SMU, for TCU, for Texas Tech, and they say, you know what, God dang it? I want to get my team to the college football playoffs, and I want to win it. And we saw how much money Ohio State raised, and they got themselves a national title. You're going to tell me there's not some bigwigs down there in Texas who are going to say, let's go. I love my program. Come on, Red Raiders. Come on, Horned Frogs. Come on, Mustangs. We are going to shell out the shekels, and that is going to throw off the balance of college football. It can happen. Now, will it happen long term?
Guess what? You get 2 bids
happen.
to do so.
That's the problem, though, because they might eat up those 2 bids, and now you're going to look and say, they need 3, they need 4 bids. I understand.
Schedule Notre Dame, beat them, and then get the at-large bid.
Oh, so we're going to talk schedule right now, right? Because all we've been talking about is teams not scheduling hard teams.
Well, you want an at-large bid,
hurt
beat
them.
Notre Dame. The at-large bid is supposed to go to them. That's the only reason for an at-large bid. So beat Notre Dame, and then go.
All right, so I love this because this is what's going to be happening in some random hotel room.
All you have to do, conversation stops when you see the television contract from the SEC versus the ACC and Big 12 and the Mountain West, et cetera. You got 2 teams that dominate the
conversation.
two conferences, and I get it. For the purity of the game, I agree with you. For the reality, you're whistling Dixie, pal.
All right, I like my Dixie.
You got 2 conferences.
Sometimes there was not 4 teams in SEC or Big Ten that I would want to see. Sometimes there's not 4. Yes. Sometimes there hasn't been 4 teams in either conference that I would have want to see.
Preach.
But with the expansion now, you have Oregon there, you have Washington there, you have Texas now, you have Oklahoma and SEC. I feel like the 4 teams are justifiable because there's probably going to be 3 or 4 teams, and then the 4th team in those conferences has a great argument over the second team in the ACC or the Big 12. Previously, most times, you know what I mean?
Right.
Not saying that the Big 12 and ACC can't elevate their level of play, that they can't raise the right money and get the right teams and the right players there, because they can, because guys are going to these schools to play for money. But I'm saying 4 for Big 10, 4 for SEC. These are the power. They make the thing
and
go.
Justifiable,
and you
got to
make them happy. You got to make those big dudes happy.
Remember Lane Kiffin sending text messages out, et cetera, about what SEC teams belonged, and then the SEC kind of did not do well, in the playoffs.
They did bad.
Did not do well in the playoffs, and so right or wrong, we can keep going. It's going to happen.